So we got Kristian Csepcsar. We are ready, Kristian. And
Hello,
he's a
thank you.
human mining machine. You are actually mining Bitcoin right now.
Yeah. And
Could you turn around and...
Sure. So I'll explain it in a bit. So what up? I'm without presentation. Can we turn it on? We're working on it. Perfect. So we'll talk about Stratum V2. Hi, my name is Kristian. I'm a chief of propaganda at Brains. We do software and recently hardware for Bitcoin miners. We're in the game from 2010. We love Bitcoin mining and everything about it. And today I will focus on Stratum V2, which we are co-authored, but it's open, free and open source project. So everybody always asks, hey, is it a vaporware? When it's gonna happen? So today I'm actually on the stage with an underclocked S9 running Stratum V2, mining via GSM to our Brains pool. So it's not to the question when, it's already happening. I think drop the mic, right? That's it. I didn't plan for this. This was nice. So I'll turn it off. It was just to... can you help me, please? The point that I'm making is Stratum V2 is the standard was actually introduced in 2019, the specification, but it's already implemented in our firmware and our pool, and a few thousand of miners already use it globally in our stack. But I have some more interesting updates that the whole community has to adopt it. So just a quick start. What is actually Stratum? So you have a mining machine, you have a pool, and Stratum is basically just a set of rules how those two parties communicate with each other. It's very simple. It just rules how the machine talks to the pool and how the pool talks to the machine. So you're saying, but wait, so we have already, it's working, right? We have thousands of millions of machines running around the world. We have mining pools. Why do we need some version 2? For that, I always like to give this example so you can understand the scale of mining and understand the scale of change. So in 2012, when the Stratum, like the original Stratum, like V1, let's call it V1, was introduced, so the small machine that I had on my back, it's called Antminer S9. So in 2012, the whole global hash rate totaled to those two machines. The state in like 10 years later, 11 years later, is we're talking about 32 million S9. So it's just to show you the scale, how we professionalized and grew exponentially. So it's very simple. We need new standard because it's already such a huge industry and grew so large and continues to grow. So we need new standard, and I'll tell you why. The benefits that it brings. So I will start and I'll be emphasizing 3 points. It's open standard, it's useful and good for Bitcoin, and it's happening now. So let me start with open standard. Yes, the two co-founders of Brains, Jan and Pavel, they are co-authors of the specification together with Matt Corello. But as I said, it's free and open source. There's a food or miscommunication that some miners, they think it's a Brains project or like a commercial Brains project. No, it's just a new standard for mining because we're in the mining pool business since 2010 and we saw a lot of the issues that the previous protocol had, so we just wanted to fix it. We need to fix it because we want to make our life easier, mining's life easier. That's why we co-authored the project. But as I said, so those three guys, they're the authors of the specification, but as I said, it's open. So it's on GitHub. A lot of the parties join in to write the code, to fine-tune the specification. So it's open and you should join. So as I said, in Brains, we have the implementation ready in our firmware and on our pool. But there's also if you go to website stratumprotocol.org, that's the open source initiative of few companies already working on open source implementation. So, and there are really big names such as Foundry, Galaxy Digital, Spiral, etc. So all that working group is working together to code the implementation that then everybody can take. So we will have a ready implementation for pools, and then all the pools can come and take that implementation and be Stratum v2 compatible. So that's happening already now. So the emphasis, again, it's open standard. It's not a brains project. We co-authored it because we wanted to fix the problems in mining. It's good for Bitcoin. That's the second important point that I want to make. There are actually tangible benefits, and that's why we want and need Stratum v2. So let me go quickly through it. So, very simple. V2 is end-to-end encrypted. I don't think it needs more explanation. We are currently running all the mining data and infrastructure in JSON in plain text. This should not be the case. This has actually deep implications. I don't want to have a tinfoil hat, but you can already think about few attack vectors that, for example, some state actor can do, because it's JSON and plain text. It should not be the case. So this is very important. Stratum v2 is end-to-end encrypted. It helps with decentralization. I'll not go into super details, because it's a completely separate topic for like 20 minutes. It's not a serval bullet. So I want to emphasize two things. Decentralization is not binary. It's not that something is or is not decentralized. It's a scale, and Stratum v2 helps to improve the state of mining decentralization. But it's not a serval bullet. It will not solve everything, but it helps. And I'll tell you later where to read more about this. And last point, which I want to make, because everything, like, we're rational actors and we need financial incentives, otherwise we just don't move our asses. So it's profitable. It actually has some bottom line implications. So let me just name a few of them. For example, it solves the empty blocks issue. Sometimes when we all know that the blocks are mined like on average every 10 minutes, but sometimes it happens that it literally takes like 1 second to find the next block, and it's so quick that we don't have time to fill it up with the new transactions. It happens not very often, but when it happens, you're not getting the fees, and it really hurts. It doesn't hurt now as much, but imagine in 2 halvings down the road, the fees will be super important. So imagine 2 halvings down the road, and you would have, I don't know, 0.2% of empty blocks. It would hurt. So Stratum v2 actually solves it. I'll not go into super technical details how it works, but it helps to solve this issue. If you're interested, go to stratumprotocol.org. There's a documentation where we explain how it works. Second thing is, it's binary protocol and end-to-end encrypted binary protocol, so we're saying 70% of the data loads. Just to give you an example, a lot of people actually think that's unlimited internet. There's no such thing as unlimited internet. You're just not using enough of it, so you think you're paying for unlimited. But as a pool, we have such insane amount of data that we actually pay a lot for internet. This, because it's binary, it reduces the bandwidth by 70%. So that's a lot, and it's good for the mining pools, and it's also good for the mining farms, because imagine like the big players there, we are talking about tens of thousands of machines. That's and very often in like remote locations in the middle of nowhere in West Texas. So actually reducing the data loads, it really helps. And then the third one, which is actually my favorite one, it standardizes the protocol, the communication between the miner and the pool in such a nice way that you can actually create your own advanced use cases. So it sounds very fancy, but think about sending like a very structural telemetry data from your miners to the management software, etc. So it really helps beautifully with this, and it's very, very important for large-scale operations. And it's like, there will be not mining in 5 years without super professionalized tools, and we need Stratum v2 in order to build those tools in the future. So, if you want just one last shell, So we published this book, Bitcoin Mining Handbook. It's for free online, so you can download it or you can buy it, of course, and support the work. But it has a really good section on how the Stratum V2 helps the decentralization aspect. So if you're interested, you'll find it in this book. It's for free on our website. And to my most favorite point of today, because the talk was about what's the state of Stratum V2. So it's happening way more now than actually just me mining on the stage, and I'll tell you. So if you think about the full-scale implementation, like we see into the future, what's the ideal state that we want to have? We need hardware manufacturers to put it right into the firmware. We need pools to implement it so they have mining servers that support the Stratum V2. On the mining side, from miners, we have to educate the miners so they actually say, hey, we want it because it gives me this benefit. So they will advocate the demand for Stratum V2. So it's quite complex. It sounds like I said it in a few sentences, but making this happen, it's really, really long game. So, but we knew it from the start. Stratum V2 is a long-term play. Like to make this happen, we're talking about 1 to 2 halvings away to make it 100% done. By the way, one more important thing: there's no change to consensus mechanism. There's no change on the node level. Some people still think there's no. It's just improving the mining communication. It's a very simple topic. So one of the big announcements that I want to make is this is the CEO of Canaan. It's the 3rd largest hardware manufacturer in the world. He's actually the father of Bitcoin ASIC. He was the first guy that created the chip that mine, the ASIC chip that mine Bitcoin. And on the left and right from him is the Jan and Pavel, the co-authors of Stratum V2. They're already building a team and implementing Stratum V2. So next year, we will see the first hardware manufacturer implementing Stratum V2. And that's insanely big step. And it actually, it works magnificently. The free market always wins. So when Canaan implements it, the others will not want to be the not cool kids on the block, and they will follow. So something that we thought is years away is happening now, and we will see it in like Q1 and Q2 next year. So this is one of the big announcements. The second one is as I said, there's an open source, not association, a working group, Foundry, Galaxy. We're helping. Spiral is there. That open source work group is working on writing the code, the open source code implementation. And actually, since yesterday, Brains is already testing the full-scale implementation, and it will be released in the next month or 2. So we're talking about full implementation from the specification, fully open source that both the miner and the pools can use and implement. And we're already testing since yesterday. If you want to join, it's not a closed. You just go to stratumprotocol.org, you join the Discord server, and you say, hey, I want to help, I want to test it as well. So it's happening already now. It's not now, it's since yesterday. So even better than now. Let me end it with this again. Stratum V2 is open, useful, good for Bitcoin, and needs your support. So really, it's either you're a miner and you want, say that you want Stratum V2 to your hardware manufacturer. Are you pool? Please look at the open source implementation and adopt it. But if you're just a pleb, go on Twitter and say Bitmain when Stratum V2 and send some meme, it helps too. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm here to answer your questions.
Absolutely. There's going to be some questions. All right, guys? Yes. And thank you, Kristian. And we got plenty of time for questions, so load them up.
Hi, Kay. Thank you for your very nice speech. We love you, man, by the way. You're our favorite speaker in Lugano. So.
Thank you very much.
Before you mentioned that Stratum V2 solves the empty block issue, I know you said you weren't going to get technical, but I hope you will instead. And if you can give, a brief TLDR on why that happens. To my understanding, right, miners send templates of the block essentially, and then randomly the hash just matches, and I have no clue how Stratum v2 fixes that.
Yeah, so I'm not gonna get technical. As I said, I'm a chief of propaganda, so I'm a marketing monkey. But I'm good in explaining technical topics in a simple way. That's my job, so I'll not get technical. So if you need the technical thing, go to brains.com/blog. It has a super nice, it says exactly how it's done in V1 and then exactly in the V2 in the technical thing. But from what I understand, it's you already prepare like a second best block template that the miner already has. So it solves the first block and can already start working on the second one. And then, so it's like the next best thing that could be mined. But then if we have enough time and we didn't find the second super quick block, then we'll send you the, yeah, something like that. Was it okay? I feel like I got a little bit lost. But the miner has in its pocket the second block that will come after the one that it's mined. Just in case the second block will be mined super fast. It has it already. Got it. Yeah.
Who else would like to ask a question?
By the way, that guy knows. That guy is...
okay.
Claps to... Gabo, he's actually writing the open source implementation. So like, go and nerd out with that guy. He's the guy. Like we should be all thanking him, So like nerd out with that guy.
Yeah.
Shoot, come on,
Why not?
tell me,
Why
empty
not?
blocks, come on.
Why not? Here we go. So do you want to repeat the question, or are you good to go?
About the empty blocks, right? Yeah. I think that, yeah, right now is just the pool who builds the block template. So whenever a new block is mined, the pool, of course, immediately sees the new block. And at that moment, just send a message, but a Stratum v1 message, who basically says to the miner, let's go with another block with this new prev hash of the block, which is just mine. But the problem is related to the messages which are in Stratum v1. So in Stratum v1, there is a message just to say, okay, take this new prev hash and mine. But it takes like 2 seconds to fulfill a new block template with new transactions. So in order to not lose time, basically the pools says just to the miner, let's go with an empty block. And sometimes, of course, there's a little chance, but sometimes it happens that in like 2 seconds, a new block is mined. So Stratum v2 try to fix this by basically letting the miners to, as Kristian said before, already prepare a second block template. And at that point, when a new block is found, the pool can say, as it is now, to the miner, okay, a new block is mined, let's go with your already prepared template, which is already fulfilled with transactions. And at the same time, there is also a signaling system at a miner level. I mean, every miner who would like to build a custom block template would have to run the so-called template provider, which is basically a full node right now, which is able to create Stratum v2 block templates. So the miner will have also locally a Bitcoin node, basically. So as fast as it receives the new block, which is mined by everyone else, it starts mining on the already prepared block. So it reduces drastically the chance of having empty blocks, because you don't think anymore about saving the 2 seconds per block. So that's, I hope it explains your doubt.
Out of all the Bitcoin conferences I've been to and hosted and emceed, this is the first time I've seen a talk hard fork And it had to be Stratum V2 and a mining company do that. Questions? We've still got some time here, and we may as well pick these guys' brains. Yes, sir.
So if Stratum V2 is so good, then why would a miner opt not to use it? Just play the other side, I guess.
Education, education, education.
Propaganda, propaganda, propaganda.
Yeah, really. Like you would be surprised that there's. Sorry.
Yep. If they have the economic incentives, which is basically what every miner wants, then why not go for Stratum V2? It doesn't make any sense.
They have no idea. Like there's so much work in mining. There's so much places where you can improve the efficiency. There's so much crazy shit going on every day. It's literally, we need more education, and we need more education. It's like they have to understand there is something that they want, and also the incentives on the they're way stronger with on the pool side and on the hardware manufacturer level side. They're at the mining level, on the for the miner, Stratum V2 is like your 30th problem. Like there is so much more before that. Just to give you an example, okay? But I'm talking very widely. Think about proxies. So there's a software that actually reduces the V1 bandwidth between your mining farm and the pool by by a lot. But that market of just the proxies as a software, it got created like a year ago. We didn't even have that market in the mining industry like a year ago. So in just that, and they all, all the big players, they really want it. But they have no idea that it actually exists because it got created like a year ago. And a lot of the miners, they're very uneducated. I'm sorry. But it's true. So it's really education, 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 propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. Yeah.
Any further questions? Because we still have time, so we're going to use every minute that we get. Or if there's anything you wanted to add.
I can add something related to your question. You're right. I agree with everything Kristian said. At the same time, I'm currently working on a benchmarking suite, kind of, which would be really useful for what you said. So my focus, my goal with this benchmarking suite is to have a software which is easily runnable by every miner at every scale. And in order to take precisely the measurements and the metrics, for example, do a comparison between Stratum V1 and Stratum V2. So I think that this can also help with education. In addition to education, help a lot the miners to really see what's the difference. So, for example, how much is the bandwidth used with Stratum V1 and Stratum V2? Where can I save something? For example, a real answer on which is the number of shares that I send with Stratum V1 and which is the number of shares that I send with Stratum V2. All that's comparison. I think and I hope it will help also to let the miners go with Stratum V2, definitely.
One question here.
Thank you very much, guys, for everything you guys done. I'm wondering if you can address the firmware subject, if we really need to update firmwares or if we have a solution for it.
So, firmware, huh? So we have Brains OS. This is our custom aftermarket firmware. We currently support all the Bitmain Ant miners. So we had the privilege and the very good starting position because we wrote it from scratch in 2018 in Rust. So it's very, very. We could very easily implement Stratum V2. So in our firmware, it's implemented. You can use it. It works. But to be honest, a lot of the current stock firmwares from the hardware manufacturers from China, they're based on CG Miner, which is app, like it's just a fancy word for the application that manages the mining, that does the mining. But it was written in 2010 for CPU mining or GPU mining. It's like, but we're in completely different universe now. We're talking about millions of specialized ASICs. And they're just like bending it so that it kind of works and they can sell more machines. So it's a real concern because some of the hardware manufacturers, they're afraid that when they touch it too much, it will fucking break. By the way, but I don't want to be pessimistic. It shows how early we are, and there's a lot to work on. But it will get better. As I said, we met with Canon a month ago, and they have it on top of the priority list. So I think future is bright, but there is a lot of work in front of us. And we're done with time. So thank you for joining me. And by the way, look, like smart people like this work on Stratum V2. So I do think like the future is bright. And thank you.
We are done with time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
That's good. That was pretty cool.
Thank you for coming up.
Sorry,
Appreciate that. Yeah, don't forget your miner.